Ayn Rand said that truth is the recognition of reality. And what we are experiencing is a war on the truth. Just let's look at Anwar al-Awlaki for a second, because I think that this crystallizes the problem down to its essential oils. Anwar al-Awlaki was the go-to imam by the Washington Post, by the New York Times, by the major media networks when 9/11 occurred. He was the go-to imam for all things Islam. He was invited to the Pentagon, not just for lunch, but for dinner. At the same time, the exact same time, he was the spiritual advisor to 3 of the Muslim terrorists who had attacked our country on 9/11. And here we are, and I couldn't help but pull this, because this is today's New York Post, not a lefty newspaper, who says in it, but after 9/11, things changed, and he became angry at anti-Muslim backlash. Okay, so this is now after we know that Anwar al-Awlaki was the spiritual advisor to the 9/11 terrorists. We know there was no mea culpa by the Washington Post did say that they thought he was moderate, but no mea culpa like, look, this is the war. The war is very tricky. Here is a man who said, he said, this is what he said to the media after 9/11, he said, our hearts bleed for the attacks that targeted the World Trade Center, when the man had a hand in it. So it's a tricky, deceptive war. And why is that? I'll tell you why that is. Because Muhammad said, war is deceit. And it's very important that you understand that propaganda is the stealth jihad. It is the most important component, and we have a media that's complicit, I believe criminally negligent at this point. A media that is Sharia compliant. Sharia compliant. You have an Iranian pastor who is going to be put to death because he will not revert back to Islam. And in none of the news stories do they say that this is the Sharia. They say this is Iran. Well, what is Iran? Iran is the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're living under the Sharia. Never. The 2 million that are slaughtered in the Islamic genocide in Darfur and Sudan, you ever hear it referred to as a jihad? No. When the Southern Sudan, Christian Sudan, voted on a referendum, 99% voted for independence. Did anyone say they voted to secede from the Islamic North? No. The jihad against Israel. The jihad against, that's what it is. This is not about land. Look at a map. Enough already. If they ever show a map in the context of the map, there is Israel. 9 miles at its wide if the UN has its way, surrounded by ginormous Muslim lands. And it's about land. They think you're stupid. And everybody's shaking their heads like bobbleheads. The war on the truth is at every level. In New York City, the New York City Transit Authority is running ads calling for the end of U.S. aid to Israel. They're running these ads. Stop U.S. aid to Israel. As if the U.S. supporting an ally in the defense of its very existential being is an impediment to peace. As if Israel's at war with anybody. Israel is trying to save her own life. It's pure and simple self-defense. So, of course, I submitted my own ads. Which has become now my trademark. And my ad said this: in any war between the civilized man and the savage, support the civilized man. Support Israel, defeat jihad. Now, let me say 2 things. First of all, I was told I couldn't get on the subway trains for less than $36,000. I said, wow. Because I have, in my wallet, I think 5 cents. I said, could I do the buses then? Ever since I did my Ground Zero mosque bus ads and my Leaving Islam bus ads to, again, rebut the proselytizing for Islam bus ads, they changed the buy. Now you can't buy $8,000 worth. Now the minimum buy in the buses is $50K. But if you buy the tails, it's 20. So I said, okay, I'll buy the tails. Whatever. My ads were rejected. They would not run my ads because of the word savage. Understand, the MTA has run ads against the Tea Party. Manhattan Moving and Storage, they run these ads making fun of the Tea Party, making fun of Bachman, making fun of Palin. They're making fun of Republicans, making fun of everybody. But I can't use the accurate term of savage, because any act of war against innocent civilians is savagery. Plain and simple. The Fogel family is not savagery. Keeping Gilad Shalit in a Hamas torture chamber and dungeon for 6 years without one visit from the Red Cross is not savagery. The war against Israel in the summer of 2006, well, I should say the war against Israel since its establishment, since 1948, is not savagery. The denial of Israel's right to exist is not savagery. So, I filed a lawsuit against the MTA. They were served the day before yesterday. And I can tell you that I will take it to the Supreme Court. Because once you decide to make a public government agency decides that they're going to allow their public forum for political speech, then you don't get to decide what you like and what you don't like. You don't decide what's good and what's forbidden. Because political speech is the most protected speech under the First Amendment. Who decides? Obama? The UN? Which increasingly, this was in my first book, The Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration's War on America, we have in this president, among other things, an anti-leader, meaning he has relinquished American sovereignty, relinquished American hegemony at the UN, to the UN, to international law. Why is this so critical? Because the UN is being driven by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It was called Islamic Conference. Now I guess it's supposed to be more warm and fuzzy, like cooperation. 56 Muslim countries plus the Palestinian Authority. Why do you think every resolution is against Israel? Why do you think every resolution is anti-American? Why haven't there been resolutions against Darfur, the Congo, Ethiopia, the piracy? What is the piracy outside of Somalia? It's jihad. It's the same Barbary pirates that we were fighting against in not only the first Barbary War, but the second Barbary War. The first war that America fought against a foreign power was a war against Islamic jihad. Are you taught this in school? Are your children taught this in school? Do you know what your children are taught in school? You won't believe what your children are taught in school. Again, part of the Islamization of America. These curriculums, and I took a lot of heat for exposing Rick Perry's curriculum. He instituted a curriculum with the Aga Khan. It was extensive. I took screenshots. I said, don't believe me, because the right really tore into me. They went after me viciously. Because they liked him. Somebody up there decided he's the man. And so I ran the curriculum, all the lessons, look at yourself, complete dawah, complete whitewashing of Islam. And I called him out on it. Now look, on Gardasil, with the mandate on the cervical vaccine, he did a mea culpa. But he didn't do a mea culpa on the curriculum. And I'm telling you, this is a key issue. This is a key issue, and one that the candidates don't want to touch. Look, it's very easy to say low taxes, small government, limited government, la 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 la. It's a no-brainer. But what good is your wallet if you don't have your head and you don't have your freedom? And every single day, it's chipping away. Just this week in Georgia, there was a curriculum. It was in Cobb County. It was in Marietta. One parent objected because the story was, my name is Ahlima, and Ahlima loves the burqa and feels so sorry for the horribly immodestly dressed Western women, loves the fact that she's wife number 2, because you know, wife number 1 is much more social and likes to go out to dinner, but I like to be at home. I'm a stay-at-home girl, so it's really great that there's more than one wife. And even if, you know, even if he doesn't prefer you, you're always taken care of. And this is how it's presented. And at the end she goes, we are so fortunate for the Sharia. And this is to 7th graders. And it's always under the guise of we have to understand other cultures. Really? I don't have to understand beheading. I don't have to understand misogyny. I don't have to understand oppression. I don't have to understand the subjugation of non-Muslims and women under any circumstances. I don't care about the religious aspect of the thing. There are a lot of people that worship a lot of freaky things. We're in America. You're allowed to do that. But once you try to impose it upon me, this is where we have to draw the line in the sand.
Right.
And it is a tricky battle, because as soon as you take up this mantle, you are a racist, Islamophobic, anti-Muslim bigot. Even though, of course, Islam is not a race. But why split hairs? You're being manipulated. Just go along with it. And this is what they're trying to do. Even the right Tea Party, even though they've stayed away from this issue. The Tea Party are extreme. What does that mean? What is extreme except a measurement?
Correct.
A measurement? Is it not a measurement? Is extreme health and extreme disease equally undesirable? Is pursuit of truth in the extreme a bad thing? Is pursuit of freedom a bad thing in the extreme? It's a lie. It's a smear. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't let them stop you. In this room, I see the future. In this room, I see the future of America. You're all to be commended for being here, each and every one of you, because this is not an easy battle. You have everything against you. Just like we had everything against us at the Ground Zero Mosque. We did. We had a mayor that colluded with the Ground Zero Mosqueteers. We had a mayor who filled out the applications, and helped them write their letters to the Lower Manhattan Committee. Yeah. We had a president who, at the iftar dinner, stood up and said they should build it. We had everyone. The media were named Gamal NBC Person of the Year, and just the other night on PBS, they did such a bootlicking puff piece on Gamal, never mentioning his bank default of not one, but 2 bank loans, never mentioning the $250,000 that he hasn't paid in back taxes, the deadbeat that he is, never mentioned his rap sheet or his, episodes with prostitutes, blah, blah, blah. But he's a man of great honor and respect because he wants to build a 15-story mega mosque in a building that was destroyed in the 9/11 attacks on burial ground. But he's not building it. He's not building it. It's now down. It went from 15 stories to 10 stories to 8 stories to now it's 5 stories.
Right. Yes.
Soon it'll be in the basement.
Yeah.
I assure you. It doesn't belong there. It's a cultural obscenity. And it's a 15-story middle finger to America. That's what it is. And if you didn't know it then, you know it now. So my point in all this is that public opinion is very important. You won't win everything, and I assure you we haven't won this one. They'll be back. They want this. They want this because we have to understand that symbolism is very important. Iconography in Islam is critical. And the Ground Zero Mosque is the mother of all symbols. There has never in the history of Islam ever been a mosque of reconciliation and healing on the site of a jihadi attack. Ever. But there are tens of thousands of victory mosques on the cherished sites of conquered lands. Dome of the Rock is the first temple and the second temple in Jerusalem, the most of holiest sites to the Jewish people. The St. Sophia, the most exquisite and gorgeous church in the world, is a mosque. Tens of thousands of Hindu temples. So we know. And they know that we know, and that's why you have to be destroyed. They don't want you to learn about Islam. They don't want you to. And I, again, will tell you 100 times, I have no problem with Muslims. I love them. I have a problem with the extreme and radical ideology that inspires jihad. Period. Kudos to Breck.
Yes.
Kudos, because that is infiltration. CARE was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest Hamas funding trial in our nation's history. CARE was named as a Muslim Brotherhood proxy. CARE is very upset that Anwar al-Awlaki was killed. Now, the problem that I have with Anwar al-Awlaki, now I have blogged on him for years. I know exactly who and what he is. He is a spiritual leader to religious and devout Muslims. The fact that, again, you see, they always say, we don't know what happened to him. He was a lovely boy. And the neighbor said, oh, wonderful neighbor. A lovely boy who, what happened? He became religious. That's what happened to him. So here you have Obama. Now you could, here you have Obama going in, killing this man, and at the same time you have Major Nidal Hassan, the Fort Hood jihadi, who made a presentation on Grand Rounds, came out on Grand Rounds, a brilliant PowerPoint presentation on jihad. I use it sometimes if there's a machine. Who was wearing the garb of the Shaheed the morning of his jihad, who was giving out Qurans the morning of his jihad, who was screaming Allahu Akbar while he mowed down 13, and there was a pregnant woman, 14 of our soldiers, and wounding 32 more. And by the way, Allahu Akbar means Allah is greater. Allah is greater. Greater than what? Greater than your God. Just so that you understand what they're saying. And the Obama administration won't release the evidence on Major Hassan. Here's a jihadi who killed American soldiers, who's still getting paychecks, and the two civilians, the two cops that took him down, have been laid off. But he's going over there, and he's killing Anwar Laki and Samir Khan. Samir Khan was a jihadist blogger, is what he was. He came out with the slick magazine Al Qaeda, not saying that it was wrong to kill them. You know how I feel. You know who I am. But I'm saying, you want to try Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in a New York court, foreign born, give him all the constitutional rights afforded to an American citizen and his merry band of killers. This, he's putting his foot down. He wants to prosecute our CIA agents that got the information. Three terrorists were waterboarded. 3. Saved Los Angeles, a terrorist attack of thousands. But you want to give them a due process, but you're going and you're just killing over there. I want to understand the epistemology. I want to understand the premise. I want to understand what is the policy. The Department of Defense issued the report on the Fort Hood jihadi. In not one report, the final included, was religious motivation, ideology, or motive mentioned. Not once. How are you going to defeat an enemy that you are afraid to name?
Right.
On the anniversary of 9/11, the President of the United States issued guidelines to official ceremonies both here and abroad, specifically directing these various commemorative ceremonies, not to mention Al-Qaeda, not to mention religious motivation, not to mention ideology. Okay? This is 10 years after 9/11. But a day later, he issued a specific and credible threat. From who, Mr. President? Mickey Mouse? When I was a kid in school, I learned about December 7th. I learned about Pearl Harbor Day. I learned that we were a nation united in our resolve to defeat the enemy. And 10 years after December the 7th, the Germans and the Japanese were vanquished. 10 years after 9/11, they're instituting in the school curriculums a 9/11 lesson. And it's all about service. It's all about healing. It's all about reconciliation. Nowhere is the enemy mentioned. Think about this. And all across the colleges were, what are you doing for service? It's a day of service. It's all about service. What are you doing for service? Excuse me? Look, service is a fine thing, but not on 9/11. 9/11 is our day of mourning. A terrible day in American history we must never forget. Those people choosing between being burned to death or flinging themselves out of windows. Hundreds hit the ground with a sound you will never forget. Never forget. The Islamization of America is imposing Islam on the secular marketplace. What do I mean by that? The mosquing of the workplace, let's say. Imposing Muslim prayer times on union contracts, forcing non-Muslim workers to lengthen their day. The Heinz Company. The Heinz Company, you know the ketchup company, condiments, has been extraordinarily generous in their accommodation to their Muslim workers. They have Muslim prayer rooms. They have Muslim prayer rugs. And what happens when you accommodate? Demands for more accommodation. They're going to be sued. Heinz is going to be sued to stop the line. Stop the line for Muslim prayer times. Now I'm going to tell you, in Muslim countries under the Sharia, they don't stop the line. They don't stop working. No, they make it up before or after. So why this? To impose Islam on the secular marketplace, that's why. The public schools setting aside prayer space. They're not doing it for Christian kids.
No.
They're not doing it for Jewish children. They're not doing it for Hindus. They're not. But they are putting aside the special spaces for Muslim prayer. And of course, the curriculums are very scary. So when Rick Perry institutes a curriculum, 9 lessons, very intense, very extensive, and doesn't issue a mea culpa, I got a problem with that. Governor Perry, are you instituting a Christian curriculum? Are you instituting a Jewish curriculum? Do not make the school a religious battleground. Now it's tricky, and this is what I get to my book. If this is happening in your school, you go in there and say, look, I don't want this taught to my kid. They're going to say, oh, that parent's a bigot. That's not what you do. For every time they bring in someone from CARE, and CARE like in Pulley-Up. Pulley-Up, CARE wanted to go into the Pulley-Up school district and explain about Islam. The thing to do is, if they're going to bring in an imam or someone from CARE or ISNA, or the 300 groups that were named in the largest Hamas funding trial, ICNA, ISNA, all of them. It's interesting to me that before Anwar al-Awlaki became the president of the Muslim Student Association at his university, he was a secular Muslim. The Muslim Student Association and Student Union was named as a virulent Muslim Brotherhood group in that trial as well. It's interesting to me. Well, you have to demand that a priest come in and a rabbi come in to talk about, how Judaism is the godfather of monotheism and how his life was changed when he went to visit the Kotel. I don't care. You're going to demand, because that they don't want. So instead of saying, listen, this is not right, or say, and get yourself a Sikh holy man, get yourself a Hindu holy man, you go bring yourself a whole mod squad. Yeah, that's what you're going to do. You're going to demand equal time.
Right.
And you're going to demand, you're going to read those lessons. You have to look, and if you don't have children, you have grandchildren, tell your grandchildren to come over and you're going to make them latkes or whatever it is you do with them to bring their history book. You want to see it. Is the Mufti discussed in their history books? Is the role of Islam during the Holocaust ever discussed? Is the leader of the Muslim world who was responsible for the death of 400,000 women and children ever mentioned? No. Why? Because it's whitewashing Islam, which, by the way, is the Sharia. Under the Sharia, it is blasphemy to offend, criticize, or insult Islam, even if it's the truth. And who is enforcing this? The OIC, the Organization of Islamic Conference. Who do you think was behind the prosecution, the attempted prosecution of Geert Wilders in Holland? They are very influential in the UN. They are very influential in the EU. They are, in effect, while they may look like a transnational bureaucracy, they are, in effect, the modern-day caliphate. And they exercise enormous power. Now, it's up to us to keep this country free. And that means for all Muslims that leave Muslim countries escaping the Sharia. Oh, yes. There's a lot of those. Oh, the media never let you hear about them. You never hear from Raheel Raza, who was against the Ground Zero Mosque. Or, the cab driver whose face was slashed. They first started to say that was an anti-mosque person. But that story got quiet fast. You know why it got quiet fast? Because the guy that slashed him was affiliated with the mosque. And the cab driver, who was Muslim, was against the mosque. Many Muslims of conscience understood why it was deliberately provocative, deeply offensive, and insulting and disrespectful. This idea, now people say, oh, you paint all Muslims with a broad brush. No, I don't. No, it's not so. But I don't have to congratulate somebody for not wanting to kill me. Am I wrong? I don't have to pat on the back somebody who doesn't want to kill me. That's my bar. I expect that you don't want to kill me. I don't believe that every German was a Nazi either.
I don't know.
The point is, there is a radical ideology that inspires jihad. The point is, there have been close to 20,000 Islamic attacks since 9/11, each one with the imprimatur of a Muslim cleric. And the violent jihad is not even what it worries me. It's the stealth jihad, the mosquing of the neighborhood. When you see in a quiet, small town, on a quiet street, a monster mosque going up, built by the Muslim Brotherhood, you have every right to protest that.
Amen.
Every single right. And in this book, I teach you how to do that. Because you have to remember, as soon as you walk out of your house, the camera is on. The television camera's on, and they're just looking to catch you in a moment. I'm sure at Breck, there may have been one person who said something stupid, and then the whole story becomes about that one person who said something stupid. He can't be stupid. This is an enemy that has perfected this over centuries. The only religion with a propaganda arm. It's very smart. It's all it has ever done. If you want a cautionary tale, look to Europe. If you think that's not what's happening, why all of this agitation over these Sharia legislations? Who would not be against the most extreme and radical ideology on the planet? Now you could say, Pamela, that's not happening. It's not. I tell you there's an attempt to restrict free speech. I tell you that attempt is under the guise of hate speech laws. Why was my ad denied? They said I was offending Muslims. Where in that ad am I defending Muslims? By calling the enemy of Israel, the terrorists against Israel, savages. They are. Now it's the truth. Now there's a war on the truth. My Leaving Islam ads. I had to sue Detroit. They would not run my Leaving Islam ads. They were exact same ads as the proselytizing for Islam, except it said Leaving Islam. Is there a fatwa on your head? Is your family threatening you? Those ads were inspired by Rifka Barrett, a Christian convert out of Islam. And I happened to be covering a trial, and while I'm covering the trial, I see these bus ads going by, proselytizing. I said, what about the Muslims that want to leave? And they are Muslims that want to leave. And there is no safety net, and the media won't talk to them. And we do help get them to safe houses. Are they not entitled? Are they not entitled to be free? What's with these special rights for Islamic supremacists? Why are we allowing that to happen? You cannot allow this to happen. You must get involved. You must play the game. You must go to those town meetings, those city council meetings, when they, again, they schmooze the city council board. Oh, we just want to build it 3 stories high and this wide and this, and a giant thing. And if it was a synagogue, if it was a church, if it was a Walmart, if it was a Lowe's, they would never get approval. Never in a million years. But again, it's always a special accommodation. Always. Hate speech laws are the scariest aspect of this whole fight, because freedom of speech is what keeps us free. I don't care. Yes, that's a great report. I don't care if you march, the Ku Klux Klan is marching. I don't care if Samir Khan is, agitating in Inspire magazine. As long as I can speak. As long as I can speak, I know my ideas are better. I know that America, beautiful, beautiful America, the first government in the history of man, the first moral government based on individual rights. This is such a concept that is never taught in school, that is never understood what it means. Centuries of blood and toil to come to this magnificent moment in human history. And so what we witness always is individualism versus collectivism. Always. If it wasn't Stalinism, it was communism. Communism, National Socialism. And now it's Islamic Jihad. It's the same thing. Different costume. This is the garb of the Shaheed. Same thing. You're fighting for individual rights. Whatever your religion, whatever your belief system, you're fighting for your right to do it and to believe it and to not tread on anybody else. That's the essence of the book. The book will teach you how to fight. It even gives you your talking points, what to put on your signs, what to ask, what to say, because you're being played. And American freedoms are being destroyed. They are being destroyed, slowly chipping away. And the media is the most dangerous aspect. They are the biggest weapon they have in their arsenal. They're dangerous. I mean, like I'm pointing out here with the New York Post. He became agitated about there was no anti-Muslim backlash. And this whole thing about Islamophobia, let me tell you something. Abdul Muhammad, who was a prominent member of the International Institute of Islamic Thought, a Muslim Brotherhood group, was present when the, what did he call it? The thought exterminating device, Islamophobia, was invented. He said it was invented and created in the bowels of Muslim think tanks as a device, a thought-crushing device, to bash any criticism of Islam. Well, it certainly has worked, has it not? You can bash Christianity, you can bash Judaism, you can make fun of payas, but you cannot say Muhammad on South Park. You cannot put him in a Huggy Bear costume. You cannot run the cartoons. And where is Molly Norris? Where is Molly Norris? How many people in the audience know who Molly Norris is? Okay, I see two hands? Two hands. Very briefly, because I don't even know if I'm over my time, and if I am, I apologize profusely. And I haven't even touched. I haven't even scratched the surface. This is what's so scary. Very briefly, South Park did an episode, and in that episode, they put, because you can't show Muhammad, they put him in a Huggy Bear costume. Well, there was a death threat immediately issued on the heads. There was a death fatwa issued, and some little-known cartoonist in Seattle, a liberal, she didn't know what she was doing, loves the show, says, let's everybody draw Muhammad Day. You know, thinking, I guess, they can't kill us all, right? Well, within 24 hours, there was a fatwa on her head. She recanted. You must never recant, by the way, ever. Never, ever show weakness. It's like sharks to blood. She recanted, and the FBI insisted that she go into hiding at her own expense, lost her job, lost her name, lost her life, lost her house, and you don't even know who she is. Molly Norris should be the poster girl for free speech on the front page of every newspaper and every news broadcast in America, and people don't know who she is. But some little-known pastor in some backwater in Florida says he's going to burn the Quran, and they're 60 feet deep there, the media, by the Dove Church. Now, I didn't agree with that, by the way, just so that you know. I'll take a bullet for his right to do it, because it's protected speech. It's protected speech. I didn't like it because, you know, we don't burn books. It's not what we do. Nazis burn books. I didn't like it. Because the antidote to bad speech is more speech. The antidote to bad speech is more give and take. Let's discuss it. No. What winds up happening is Bill O'Reilly has care on regularly. Yep. He's got Hakeem Muhammad, or as you might know him, Keith Ellison on. You don't see Wafa on his show. You don't see Robert Spencer, Ibn Warwick, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Where are those voices? Where are they? I mean, I get on, but I get on like a guerrilla. It's guerrilla warfare. Like, you have to cover me because she's suing the MTA. Or you have to cover me because of my bus ads, or you know my taxi ads. You know, I was running a taxi campaign. On top of the taxis, I was running the faces of the girls in America who killed in honor killings. I had about 8 different ads, all beautiful girls. Amina and Sarah Saeed, Nora Al-Maliki, Asiya Hassan, all. And Muslim cab drivers were taking off the ads off the top of the cabs. What strikes me is that the Taxi and Limousine Commission actually removed ads for gentlemen's clubs because Muslim drivers in New York wouldn't drive, didn't want them on there. Now you could say, well, no, it's just a girl looking fetchingly, you know, and the name of the club. That's it. Now you could say, well, she's insinuating whatever with her eyes. Oh, police. And cab drivers do not have to ride in cabs. That's wrong. That's the Sharia. So when you say the Sharia is not happening, it's happening everywhere. The media doesn't talk about jihad because they don't want to offend Islam. That's blasphemy laws. I am demonized, marginalized because I speak critically about Islam. All of us that do this work are rendered radioactive. You Google my name, you'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't get some kind of a disease from this girl. What they make from me, thank God my parents are not allowed to see it. I'm serious, it's just unbelievable. And anybody knows that has gotten into this fight, I mean, it's like, I enjoy it now. The meaner they get, the more I know I hit them. I love it.
Your parents will be very honest.
One other thing, the teaching of Arabic, they wanted to make it mandatory in certain Texas schools. We need to understand that in Islam, Arabic is considered the language of heaven. It's considered the language of Allah because when Allah delivered his message to Muhammad, he delivered it in Arabic. And so you have to understand that the expansion and the teaching of Arabic is seen as a spearhead in the Islamic imperialistic project. And anywhere that they're doing this, and these Arabic schools also always wind up becoming madrasas, and these are taxpayer-funded schools. I have no problem teaching Arabic, teach Chinese, teach Spanish, make it an elective. This is what you have to fight. You must fight this wherever you see this, and you will begin, now that you have the glasses, and that's what this is. I like to use the analogy that the American people are like Helen Keller, and somebody moved the furniture. Because they know something's happening, but everyone's telling them, no, 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 shut up. And this is how they cowed the people in Europe. If you've been there, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. So my point in all this is, you're a political group, and I am telling you that it is do or die in 2012. If you think Obama, and I wrote the book,
Preach it.
okay? If you think Obama was bad first term, you ain't seen nothing. His Department of Justice is suing New Jersey County because the corrections facility said you have to wear the uniform. You have to wear the uniform of the corrections facility. Wanted to wear the niqab, wanted to wear the hijab, and now he's suing this New Jersey County so the correction officers can wear this garb. You know, don't be a correction officer. The cashiers at Walmart and at Target who refuse to handle meat that's not halal. You know what? Don't be a cashier at Target and Walmart. But they won. But they won. Disney, they're suing to wear the hijab or the niqab. Disney has a dress code since 1957. Don't work at Disney. I mean, Disney is nothing sacred. No, nothing is sacred. And the more iconic, the bigger the fight. And if Disney's not iconic, I don't know what else is iconic of America but Mickey. This is what we see time and time again. So understand, these things are not happening in a vacuum. It's part of a project, and you have to fight it. The soldiers, you know, because the soldiers know. They know. You know, they're there, they're fighting it. They know, and it must be, I can't even imagine the feeling that the country has not only forgotten about you, but if you ask Americans in the street, in the schools, what are you fighting in Iraq? What are you fighting in Afghanistan? They can't answer you. And it's not hard. It's jihad. What are we doing in Afghanistan? And the criminalizing of our soldiers. They should be brought up on charges for that. They should be brought up on charges. To do the things that they're doing with rules of engagement that are so crippling, ordinary men could never, ever succeed. These are extraordinary. These are our best. And the strategy, I think, I am totally opposed to Obama's strategy because I think he's setting our boys up to be killed. I do. I said it as far back as April 2009. It just doesn't make, and yet still, these are superheroes. All right, tie them both back. I'll fight them to death. You know, they're just amazing. Support them. Support them. You don't know what they're doing because when we leave there, believe me, all those jihadis that they're killing are going to come home to roost. Don't think for 1 second that it's going to get better. We have been killing a lot of jihadists. That's what we're doing, by the way. Don't forget what we're doing there and why we're doing it. A is A. You can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid reality. No one is going to save you. You need to understand this. The politicians are looking in the rearview mirror. We need politicians that will speak to this subject, not bash Muslims. No. But certainly, A, to promise that unlike Obama's DOJ, who scuttled the prosecutions of the Muslim Brotherhood groups that were named as unindicted co-conspirators in the largest Hamas funding trial in our nation's history, that they promise that they will pursue those prosecutions. That there will be a separation of mosque and state. That people that work for the government will be vetted. They will be vetted, and if they're tied to the Muslim Brotherhood, they will not be allowed to work in the government. That's right. We're war. How many people have to die? How many attacks do we have to thwart? I mean, that Times Square bomber, have you been to Times Square on a Saturday night? It's teeming with humanity. Do you have any idea how many people would have been killed? It would have made 9/11 look, it would have dwarfed 9/11. So it's all okay because Hashem said, not tonight, fella. Is that where we are now? Operation Fetal Position? That's what it is. That's not who we are. We're not Europe. We're proud. We have civilizational self-esteem. We know who we are. We're freedom. And that's what we're fighting for. And that's what you have to fight for.